Hi there, Lynn from Perch and Patina. I wanted to show you real quick how to make one of these rag rug pumpkins. I had posted the other day a picture of one on my Facebook page, and someone asked me, how do you make them? So I thought I'd do a real quick video and show you. So first thing I did is I didn't have any rag rugs at home, so I went and picked up a couple from one of the dollar stores. Very easy to take apart. So the one I bought is like this size, and I think they were like $5. And then I started pulling it apart. So the first step was to get all of your pieces of fabric ready. And this is really easy. I just started by cutting off the edge, just the strip on the end. I cut that off. And then you're able to pull out the pieces of fabric. They're just woven in there with this string, and they come out really easily. So what I did was I took a bunch of them out and collected them up. So that way you can pick through as you're doing your pumpkin what colors you want to use. So anyway, they come out one end or the other like this. And like I said, they're woven in there. This might be too big of a piece based on the size of the rest of what I've got. But that's what I did. So I put this aside. Okay. And then I took, to make my form, I took 2 paper bags, just the lunch bag size, and I put one inside the other. So I just open it up, put one inside the other. And then on the bottom, what I did was I folded in, and I'll show you on this one. So I double bagged it, and then I took the bottom and I took my glue gun, and I just wanted to make it more of a round shape. So I just took my glue gun and I put the corners to the center. So I just put a little drop of glue, put the corner to the center and held it for a few seconds. And then did the next corner, same thing. Just doesn't matter. I mean, this project is so forgiving. It doesn't have to be perfect. All I'm doing is just bending in the corner so it's a little less square. And it's just easier to work with. And then another drop of glue. And then again, this doesn't have to be your form. This is what I used for the form for my pumpkin. But if you have one of those, like a foam pumpkin from one of the dollar stores or something, you can easily do the same technique on that. I just didn't have one, and so this was my way of coming up with somewhat of a pumpkin form. Okay, so I've got them all glued down. Then I stuck another bag inside, and I ended up with like this. I stuffed them with paper. All I did was take newspaper, and I just bunched it up and stuck layer after layer in there. And then when I was done and it was about how thick and the size that I wanted my pumpkin, I did the same thing that I did here on the bottom of this one, and I just glued the top shut with my glue gun, same thing. And like I said, no perfect way to do it. Just fold it in, going around as many times as you want, and I just wanted it to be like a round form when I was done. So I ended up with this, and I compacted the paper in there pretty good, just so that I'd get something really like tangible to work with. So now I'll show you what I did. So I took some strips of the fabric that I got from the rug, and you can mix up your colors. You can see on here, I kind of just did a blend of everything that was in the rug. But if there's some certain color, let's say here, these all look like a light blue jean to me. So let's say we want to do one like that. Okay, so the way I started is I took that very end and I made sure that whatever I was gluing onto here was like a flat part, because as you're going around the pumpkin, you're going to have a lot of pieces on here. And you don't want like a big bump or anything in the middle if it's where you've twisted it. So I just glued this, a little bit of glue on the end, and then I punched down into the middle and pushed it down like that so that this end was secure. Okay, give it like a few seconds just to hold, because what you're going to be doing then with this stuff is you're going to be taking this and twisting it. And that's how you get that really cool, like twisted rag rug effect. And I like this one because it's got a kind of like a shabby look to it. And all the strings and everything, I like that. If you don't, you could also use fabric and just cut it in strips. And if it's a fabric that doesn't fray, if you don't like that frayed look. But I really like the shabby look to it. So anyway, back to this. So I put that in there. I've been twisting it, twisting it, twisting it. And I do it about halfway because I've got to glue it going down from the top. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. But what I want to do is, I'll turn it this way, is glue a little bit, like make a little bit of a line for the first one. And then just press this on there. Okay, and then a little bit more. This is just for the first strip in there. And again, like I've been saying, it's a very forgiving project so that you really can't do it wrong. It's just whatever you prefer it to look like when you're done. And then same thing. And I just make sure, like in mine, I wanted that twisted effect. So I just made sure that I twisted a little bit ahead of putting the glue on so that it was ready to be glued down. And then I did a little more. And this, in the first string, I'm basically just doing like a straight line, going from the top of the pumpkin down to the middle of the bottom. And so I've got mostly twisted. Let me see, a little bit more. I'll glue a little bit more. Just making like a quick line of glue to get this started. Okay, and now I'm almost to the end. So I'm just going to twist as much as what I want to do down to the middle of the bottom of the pumpkin. And then I'm going to cut that off. Okay, because each piece is going to be a separate piece going down. So I'm going to glue this here a little bit more. I'm almost to the center. When I get closer to the center, what I did on each piece, because I didn't want, again, like I said, you don't want that big bump. I didn't want like a big bump on there. So I would flatten out this fabric at the end a little because all these pieces are going to be meeting in the middle. So what I did was I flattened it out a little. If it was really, really wide, I cut some of it off like this and just trimmed a piece. And then I took my glue gun, I put a little bit of glue on this flat part and made sure that was obviously face down and glued it to the center of the pumpkin. And this is your bottom. So then the next piece, you just take another one, and I'm just going to do this one all. I have a lot of blues and greens, so I'm going to do it in the same colors. Maybe this one. So I took this same thing, and what I did was I took the very end of it at the top and glued it down right to that same middle point, as you can see, right next to the other one. And then I twisted it a little, and I want to make sure that I give this enough time to hold, okay? But I twisted it, and then what I did was I started to put in little sections, just started to put some hot glue right next to the other one. And it didn't matter. I mean, as long as you don't come over the top of each piece, because then you're going to see all your glue, you can glue it right to the side. Just like I said, I use my glue sparingly because it's really not going to be handled a lot. So anyway, I just kept twisting as I went down, and I kept putting glue, like right here along the side of that other piece, probably about 1.5 inches or so. And I have my piece that's twisted, and then I just laid it onto that glue while I twisted and make sure it stayed twisted. And then, of course, you're going to have this end. I just kept doing that all the way down. So now I'll just put another like inch or so of glue right next to that one, and then just push it down. And what'll happen is you'll start having all your different colors will come out like this. And it looks really cool. And then you'll have, like I said, the top and the bottom will be just the ends. This, I didn't do anything with it. I mean, you could put something over the bottom, but it's just going to be sitting on a shelf somewhere. So it didn't bother me, but you could put a piece of fabric to cover all those ends if you wanted on the bottom. So anyway, once we got done with this part and we had all of it on there like here, I needed to make a stem. Now there's many choices. This is going to be a personal preference of what you want to do. The one I saw the picture of had a long stem like this, and I really liked the way it looked. You could use rope. I didn't have any of that. So what I used was another paper bag. And all I did was I took a paper bag and I cut off right here where the bottom starts. I cut that off right there. Put that piece aside. I used that bottom piece and I twisted it. So it was all flat. And then I just took it and I started twisting it. And what I wanted was, the only thing I had to do was that I wanted it to be thinner at the top than at the bottom, because to me that was more realistic looking. So what I did was I just trimmed some of the top off. So I twisted it and it holds pretty good, but I twisted it and then I cut some pieces off and I just trimmed it all along so that it would be thinner. As I got to the top, the thinner it would be. And this is something you can just keep working on until it gets how you like it. So then you see what happens here, because I because I cut some more of the top off, it got thinner. And you just do that so that you have the right thickness that you want for your pumpkin. And also, I should mention, you can use bigger bags to get a bigger pumpkin. You can use a bigger foam pumpkin if you have one. A lot of times you can find them at a Goodwill or something. So that's usually what I do. But like I said, I didn't have anything on hand, so I used the paper bags. Smaller bags, obviously, would get you a smaller pumpkin. The stem, if you're going to make it from the paper, the same thing. Then what I did, so I made my stem and I left this bottom down here, the widest part. I did not trim any off of the thickness, okay? Because I wanted a little bit of something around here. So I just left most of it. And then I opened it up. And then when you go to glue it, you will see it. You open it up and it, just like that, it will sit on your pumpkin. Now, I wanted mine painted. That was the last step that I had to do. I just used a brown chalk paint and I just painted my stem. And what I did is, it did take me, because I already had twisted it first. And like I said, this was just so that I could see if I could make one that was similar to that picture. So my idea was just to take the stem, twist it, and then paint it. What you may want to try, and I have not tried this yet other than on this small piece, but I painted a sheet, or I'm sorry, I painted the bag on one side, and then that's all you'd really need. And then you could take this and fold it back together as if it's the top part of your bag that you cut off, and you could take this and twist it. I didn't feel like I had to have everything like solidly covered, because in nature, obviously, it's not all one straight brown color. So what I did was I painted mine, and then I noticed there was like a little bit more showing, and I also glued it in place. So let's say your twist, you don't want it just going straight up. You kind of want it over. What I did was I bent it a little. And then I took my hot glue gun and I opened it up. I stuck glue in here where I wanted the bend. And then I shut it and held it like that, so it would stay more of a curve or a bend. And it worked out perfectly. So I suggest that your stem is completely your preference. You can do the same thing with rope. It will give you the same effect. You just leave the bottom more wide open and then do your twisting, do your trimming. You could put a piece of wire if you really want to bend it. You could put a piece of wire in there before you do your twisting so that it will be more workable. I didn't feel like for this pumpkin that I really needed to do that, but I am happy with the results. I really like the way this turned out. I think it's a really cute, shabby pumpkin, and it will add a lot to your fall decor. So thanks for watching my video. That's how I did it. And stop back and also subscribe. Thanks.